If you'd please rise to honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Rostikowicz?
Here.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Leary?
Here.
Ms. Martin? 6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. We have under special order of business, Spotlight on Excellence for Summer Reading. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I welcome many parents and all of the children who are recipients representing their schools. In the summertime, as you know from last month, we give out mathematics assignments, as well as we ask families and children to come together and continue the reading and building their literacy skills over the summer months. And this is a celebration this evening. So I'd like to thank each of the parents and guardians and family members who are here this evening to see your children receive these awards. I'd like to thank you for our partnership and our work together. We are truly so much more powerful when we work together as a team that's building the next future of our country. So thank you all for being here. This evening, children, 3 from each building, will receive a token of our gratitude, so there's a gift certificate going to each child. I'd like to thank the Lowell School Committee, who has always supported this initiative for mathematics and science. Mathematics and literacy over the last 6 years, and I'd like to thank you all for being here. So your little ones will come forward, they'll shake our hands. It is the most fun we have all year, so thank you all for being here. And then we will allow for a little recess afterwards and some pictures, so don't worry if you can't get your young people photographed. We'll let some time at the end. So thank you all so very, very much. And I'd like to turn this over to the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Claire Abrams, who will welcome the children in just a minute. So thank you all.
Okay. The following list recognizes the school and invited students who were the lucky drawing winners. From the Bailey School, Julius McDougall. Jacqueline Tran. Randy Hang. Bartlett School, Valerie Gitto. Navia Marquez. Josiah Hernandez. From the Butler, Isabel Duquette. Igor Caniero. Brianna Poor. From the Daily, Luke Silva. Emily Pham. Jayada Dakota. Lowell High School Freshman Academy, Emily Chase. Brandon Sarr. Madeline Hamilton. From the Green Elch, Aspara Death. Santiago Tameo. Giovanna Masson. From the Lincoln School, Annie Gilman. Ping Diep. And Christopher Nett. From the McAuliffe School, Emma Reyes. Chase O'Neill. Hallie Santiago. From the McAvenue School, Isabel Javet. Rochelle Mulba. Emmanuel Lopez. From the Moody School, Kyle Thomas. Caroline Sithawa. Julia Chair. From the Morey School, Liliana Men. Jimmy Chair. Abby Savoy. From the Merkland School, Jakari Mam. Faith Mam. And Jeremy Cott. From the Pawtucketville School, Douglas Forsythe. Annette Forco. Michelle Lee. From the Pine Arts School, Madison O'Neill. Anna Young. Megan Fantasia. From the Riley School, Luke Williams. Antonio Martins. And Samantha Larnd. From the Robinson School, Jennifer Moom. Hannah Nutter. Ricky Thine. From the Shaughnessy School, Alicia Bond. Molly Scribnum. And Richard Scribman. Stocklosa School, Michelle Chan. Samana Bourne. Kimberly May. From the Sullivan School, Jenny Pin. Rixmay Juan Baez. And Miranda Blodgett. From the Wang School, Kelly Lee. Aliyah Carroll. And Dan Cornelia. And from the Washington School, Morgan Tarini. Erin McCabe. And Tega Sume. Congratulations. For anyone who would like to have pictures taken, you can meet Mr. Lang right in the center here. Yeah, they didn't have them lined up right.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again to all the summer readers. At this point, we'll move on to the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled school committee meeting of Wednesday, October 3rd, 2012. Entertain a motion to accept the place on file by Ms. Rosikowicz, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed or voted? Next, we have permission to enter for October 17th, 2012. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Julie Charette for $8,800 to provide professional development to new teachers in the Lowell Teacher Academy during their first 3 years of teaching to align curriculum, instruction, and assessment to the Massachusetts frameworks and Common Core standards. Funding will be provided by the Race to the Top grant. To the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association of Greater Lowell for $11,500 to provide the Lowell adult education with an on-site program for 50 foreign-speaking adults. Funding will be provided by the Adult Basic Education Grant. To the Lowell Transitional Living Center Incorporated for $9,000 to provide recruitment, counseling, and coordination for 15 homeless students to attend Adult Basic Education GED preparation classes. Funding provided by Adult Basic Education Grant. To the New England School Development Council for $6,240 to conduct a demographic study of the Lowell Public Schools and prepare a 10-year enrollment projection, pre-K through 12, and analysis on a grade-by-grade and grade combination basis utilizing modified cohort survival methodology. Funding provided by the FY13 Superintendent Contracted Services budget. To the Icon Architecture Incorporated for $22,000 to provide architectural services for the renovation of the existing bathrooms at the Riley Elementary School and repair replacement of water fountains and bathroom partitions throughout the Lowell Public Schools. Funding provided by the FY13 capital budget.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Could I just ask a quick question, and if we don't have the answer tonight, we can get it later, and that would be fine. Just regarding the New England School Development Council, I'm making a guess that this is going to allow us to make better projections as we go into our next school year. I know that the last couple years we've been caught with a significantly larger population, particularly at the kindergarten level. So I'm hoping that this is an effort that will allow us to make more accurate projections.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Martin. This is exactly the intention of this particular agenda item. We need to have enrollments, projected enrollments, and we've missed that particular entity, so that is exactly what it's for.
Ms. Rosikowicz?
I just had a question with regard to the allocation to CMAA, or Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association of Greater Lowell, and Lowell Transitional Living Center. I'm curious as to how many students we actually graduate with GEDs out of those programs every year. And, you know, is it we're just giving them money and they're teaching 50 people, or are they teaching 25 people? And I'm not sure if you have that information off the top of your head, but I would be curious as to what kind of outcomes we're seeing as a result of that allocation.
Madam Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the adult education programs, they have a kind of a revolving process for making sure the enrollment is always held, stable. For instance, when somebody leaves a program, they're replaced in many cases. So as you probably know, Ms. Rosikowicz, from the graduation, there are hundreds and hundreds of recipients of the ESOL programs, as well as the GED programs. So these off-site or neighborhood type of site programs have always been the way this particular adult education center has become all around the city. So they manage the enrollment to make sure at least that many people go through the process. So they keep on filling it. That's always been the way Adult Ed has done business.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Entertain a motion. Move to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Rosikowicz. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? 6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Thank you. This time I'd recognize Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would, if, with the consent of my colleagues, like to request a permission, suspension of the rules to allow public participation. I was approached this evening by a graduate of Lowell High School, Ms. Angel Suero, who'd like to address the committee on several issues at the high school, and I would appreciate my colleagues' indulgence. Thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Ms. Suero?
Hi. Good night, and let me just thank you guys for having this reading appreciation thing event that just happened. They do not know how important reading is. It really is. Sorry. I come to you tonight as a Lowell High School alumna from the class of 2012. I graduated just 6 months ago. And before I begin, I'd like to inform you that some of my opinions may be a little bit biased because I took mostly advanced placement classes, and in advanced placement classes, the students and the teachers are very passionate about how the schools are run. First, I request you as the head administrators of our school to increase communication between administration, teachers, and students, and especially students, since they will give you a clear picture of the status of our schools if you only give them a chance. You will be surprised how valuable the voices of our students can be if you only listen to them. I'd like to refer to the 7th motion about the schedule change this year. You guys will not get the frustration of some members of the administration and of some students and teachers just from the numbers. You guys need to increase communication to make the schools better. Last year, I remember this May, I remember there was a change in the way the AP testing was done in the high school, and there was so much frustration and anger and disappointment from the students and from teachers because we did not get a heads up. The only heads up that we got was a week before the change happened. This is the change, this is what's going to happen. And you can ask Headmaster Rosmerick, everybody went to his office and complained. Talking about the AP testing, I request that you make one major change to the way advanced placement classes are handled at Lowell High School. In my junior year, I took 2 AP and 1 dual enrollment class. In my first taste of AP classes, I learned something which concerned me. All students who took AP classes were required to pay for and take the AP test for those classes. My senior year, I started off with 5 AP credit courses, which I later dropped to 4. Some of my classmates, however, chose to keep their 5 AP courses. By the end of the year, these students had to pay almost $500 to take their AP tests. These are people that went on to go to Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania and Brown. These universities do not take the AP credit for the tests. So for them, it was not an investment, it was almost money thrown away. Since my father, whom I live with, is not in the best financial situation, I had to recruit the reduced price, which still added up to $120. When I saw that I had to pay that much money, I honestly felt as if I was being punished for having a low-income background and choosing to challenge myself. The price for the first 3 AP tests remained low for the reduction, but after the 4th one, the price spiked. Since I have not been in Lowell, I do not know whether any other students have come forward and complained about this, but if I am the first one, I can assure you that by the time my next break comes, I can get hundreds of signatures from past and present AP students and teachers who feel that it is ridiculous and unnecessary to force these students to pay for and take the AP test for all of the AP classes that they have on their schedule. Even if they didn't have to pay, for those of us that took 3 or more AP classes, there were always 1 or 2 which we did not feel the need or desire to take the AP test for, since we had more challenging tests to study for. I have worked as a Vote 17 youth organizer, and at the campaign, I learned that the government works for the people, and that the government has to listen to the people. So I beg you to please listen to what I have said and take these suggestions to heart. I will stick around after the end of this meeting to talk to any of you who have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the communication? Entertain a motion to accept and place on file, or potentially refer to subcommittee, Lowell High School subcommittee. Motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next we have motions. Motions by James Leary. Request the superintendent provide an update to the Lowell School Committee regarding the Lowell High School portal. The report should include the number of teachers and parents who are utilizing the portal, recommendations from the teachers and parents on any improvements that should be made to the portal, and how to increase participation in the portal. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Ms. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. I went to the last Friends of Lowell High meeting at the high school, and one of the issues, there's many issues that come up. One of the issues that seems to be a redundant issue from parents, or an issue that's continued concern from parents, are the number of teachers that are actually utilizing the portal. So this motion really is a question, it's not only a basic how many folks are using it, how many students and families are using it, but also trying to get information from the teachers themselves. How could we better utilize the portal? And how could we influence teachers to actually want to use the portal? The parent that made the question, the response from the high school administration was pretty much, we try to encourage the teachers to use it. We've worked with them in professional development and using the technology. The other issue is we can't make them do it because of union contracts. All true answers, but I think what we need to really do at this point is maybe do an actual survey of teachers who are not using it, or teachers that may want to use it, find out what their needs are. The portal in and of itself is a valuable tool, but if we're using minimal number of faculty are using it, that's a problem. I don't want to sit there and try to force someone to use it. I'd rather have them come to this on their own. What can we do to encourage them? If my colleagues or if the administration has a better idea on how to do this instead of a survey in terms of questions about using it, I think that's what we need to do. I don't think a letter like next meeting is appropriate for this. This is going to take some time. I mean, I know we can get the numbers. That's pretty easy. We could do that, just pull up X2 and probably figure it out right here. But I think putting some real thought into how we can get teachers to want to use it, getting them the training to use it, and then getting the families to encourage additional numbers. This is something that's going to, ultimately, once you've learned how to use the portal, it's going to make their jobs easier. And I think the fear might be this is going to make my job a lot more challenging, and people are going to be watching, how I do the grades and how I administer quizzes. I don't think that fear is really is factual, but I think we need to take a look at that. Again, any ideas would be valuable, because this is something, when Mr. Leahy and I put this motion on a couple of years ago, this is because we were not in the forefront of using this technology. We were in the back of the line. And I appreciate the headmaster actually starting this project last year, but we need to really get going on this. And we also need to bring it down to the middle schools and ultimately down to the elementary. So thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next motion by Kimberly Scott and Kristen Ross-Sikwich. Request the superintendent provide an update as to how this year's schedule change at Lowell High School has impacted tardiness rates and discipline. No second is required. Ms. Ross-Sikwich? Ms. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. At the beginning of the school year, we had agreed as a committee in coordination with the staff at Lowell High School to change advisory period from the beginning of the school day, adding a few minutes of class time to our courses, and putting advisory at a different time in the middle of the day, more central to the day. And I am curious as to the impact of that change. I mean, I realize that that change was advocated with respect to reducing tardiness to school. So I'm just curious as to what kind of data we've come up with so far, and has that had an impact on academic performance thus far? Thank you.
Madam Superintendent?
In the meetings that we have at the high school, on a biweekly basis, we've asked about anecdotal type things, but at this particular point, this motion we could follow up on at the next Lowell High School subcommittee meeting. So I would request to pass this to the next Lowell High School so we can look at actual data. Anecdotally, though, we ask, about the tardiness rate and if there's any less, and, because by now a school would know if there's more detentions or things like that. And anecdotally, there was not so much of a spike in tardiness, but they were really working on keeping it under control. So I don't have the actual data, but I will most definitely put that on the next subcommittee meeting so we can look at it quite quickly.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Kristen Ross-Sikwich and Kimberly Scott. Request the superintendent establish a plan to implement banking program access at all Lowell public schools across the district. Not requiring a second. Ms. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the present time, I'm not sure how many schools we have the banking program in. I know of at least 4 that we have it at. I think the program really shows children how to handle money, and it shows them how to save money. I had the privilege of going to the Lincoln School for a presentation there. At the time, there were quite a few members of, I believe it was the Lowell Bank community members that were there for the presentation. The children at the school all knew them all by name. They all walked up to them. They said, I have my money set aside for you this month or this week. I think it was weekly, actually. And they had different types of displays, I think, in the school, too, at the time about the program. I think it's beneficial for us to look at, doing it across the district. I would recommend probably that we send it to the Community Relations Subcommittee so that we can further discussion and make sure that there's community banks that are interested in participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ms. Ross-Sikwich.
Realizing that we have put in place a financial education piece at the high school, I think that's great, but really establishing positive money habits starts at a very young age, and I think it would have a significant impact overall as these children grow older and grow into adults and become members of our society. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just real quick, I think it's a good motion. I think a lot of other communities already have banking-type programs that actually begin in kindergarten, right up through 12th grade. And I think the biggest interest is really in the elementary schools. I do think, because this is similar to what I think Ms. Martin had a motion regarding business practices and financial needs. This is something that will actually go to the curriculum subcommittee because it is a K through 12 thing. But I think it's high time that we started implementing some similar type of program, and it will definitely have a positive effect. So I really thank the folks for my colleagues for putting this motion on.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have subcommittees. The Lowell High School Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Thursday, September 27th, 2012. Mr. Gignac?
Thank you. I am simply filling in for Mr. Conway, who's the chair of the subcommittee. We met on September 27th. Those in attendance were myself, Mr. Conway, Ms. Ross-Sikwich from the subcommittee, Mr. Leary and Ms. Scott were also in attendance, along with the superintendent, Assistant Superintendent Abrams, and the headmaster and curriculum director. We talked on 5 agenda items, Lowell High School time change. The headmaster indicated that he has done some research into whether or not starting the high school time was a good idea, starting earlier and ending earlier. And there was a lengthy discussion on whether or not that is good for our students, whether it's good for the school day itself. And there was discussion on the transportation costs. As a report from the headmaster indicated that the transportation costs would actually go down if we change the high school schedule. Mr. Conway recommended that a team come together and to put together a more thorough report and report back to the subcommittee. We also discussed the programs at the high school in regards to the SATs, and we discussed all the programs that are currently in place, and we briefly went through them. We also got an update on the Latin Lyceum And we talked about the use of the new Student Support Services Coordinator and how he's taking a role in the program, along with the lead teacher and the Director of Curriculum. We went on to discuss the syllabi and curriculum maps. We've looked at this stuff for months now, and it's like we're looking at the same thing over and over. But we did get an update on how there is a more standard syllabus that's going into each and every hand of the students at the high school. And then lastly, we talked about the online learning and how successful that program has been. A motion was made to accept this report as a report of progress. Mr. Mayor.
A motion to accept as a report of progress by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Ms. Rossikwich. Any discussion? All those in favor? Mr. Leary.
Just the online program, quickly, I know it was used as a program to help people who for repeat folks, and I think that when we're hearing verbally right now, it's been a big success. So I think what we need to look at as we get into, before we get into the next semester, is really how can we utilize this in other areas. And one of the areas when we envisioned bringing this back was really looking at subjects that we don't have the faculty for, the teachers for. Like one example that I use all the time is Mandarin Chinese. I don't know if there's a need for it, and I mean, not a need, I think there is a need, but do I think there's an interest for it? And are there other subjects that I haven't mentioned that we need to look at? But it is a good start thus far. I think looking into the second semester, what I think Dr. Jack said at the high school subcommittee meeting, that it is so effective that they're looking at options to roll out in the second semester. So it's a thumbs up so far. I look forward to hearing more information, hopefully before our next meeting in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the report? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next subcommittee was Curriculum Subcommittee. Report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, October 10th, 2012. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. At our meeting on October 10th, present were myself, Mr. Leary, and Ms. Scott, also Mr. Gignac from the central office, Superintendent Franco, Assistant Superintendent Abrams, Martha Cohn, who is our pre-K through 12 coordinator of science and social studies, and also Doug Prime, who is our district support specialist around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We had a number of individuals who were also there to speak on the different topic areas. First was Professor Jim Nearing, who is a professor at the University of Massachusetts Lowell Graduate School of Education. He was there to present a research proposal for the subcommittee and ultimately the full committee's review and approval. It is a research study that will involve basically one single middle school here in the city of Lowell. Professor Nearing will be working with sister sites in Ireland and Israel, and really I'll give you the title of his theory here: Redefining School Performance, Disseminating Principles and Practices for 21st Century Learning. What I think is most interesting about this research is that it's going to be studying that point of friction between the 21st century kind of critical thinking skills that we know our students need and will need to be successful, not just today and tomorrow, but throughout their lives, and really kind of juxtaposing that against the high stakes skills, high skills testing skills that we try to give our students to make them successful in the immediate. When we're comparing whether a student has long-term critical thinking skills versus the ability to pass their MCAS. Those are two different priorities. There's something that gets balanced in every school across the nation, certainly happens here in Lowell. So it will be an interesting research project to see how those two priorities are balanced, particularly here in Lowell and with the other sites that Professor Nearing will be working with. It was approved by the subcommittee to move forward with the research project. The next topic in the subcommittee was on a motion that was brought by City Councilor Rita Mercier and then brought to this committee by Mayor Murphy on the topic of cursive writing here in the city of Lowell. I think one of the key things we talked about was that what exists in Massachusetts as part of our Common Core standards and what we'll be testing on over the next years is cursive is a topic and a standard that we need to address. Both here, it's really singularly here in Massachusetts, and then in California are the only two states who've retained cursive as one of the standards. So it is something that needs to be part of our curriculum. I think that we had a very balanced approach to it. We're looking at across the district, it is being implemented spottily, and I think that it is in our best interest to make sure that we are doing including this in our teaching and in our classrooms in a more comprehensive and fair way, so that it's really being implemented the same way across the district. All of our students will have appropriate exposure to cursive writing. I think one of the key things for me as we were talking about it was we're not talking about being able to send our students home with homework or do exercises in class where they're simply looping circles and kind of working on that part of penmanship. It's really going to be about including cursive writing in their regular everyday writing tasks. We're a district that's made a very real commitment to writing skills, recognizing what a critical role it plays for our students, and really incorporating cursive writing into that is just one more way that we can help students make that connection. So that was also passed by the subcommittee, and we'll await the approval of the full committee. Third topic of the evening was our K through 12 physical education program. This was a result of a motion brought by Mr. Leary, looking to have us review the current K through 12 programming around physical education. We were joined by Mr. DeProfrio, who's the athletic director at Lowell High School, who I think brought some very real inspiration about wanting to take physical education activities and make sure that they're very well incorporated into our curriculum work. He's certainly very enthusiastic and excited about the prospect, and I think he certainly brought some great information for us to look at. We did have a presentation from Project Adventure, which is really an amazing program and something that if we can incorporate it into our programming, not just at the high school, but in all honesty, if it was the kind of thing that we could incorporate from elementary, middle through high school, I think could have a real impact here in our district. Collectively, the will of the subcommittee was to hold this information and be able to incorporate it into our larger budget discussions come the spring, recognizing that really all of the topics we were discussing had very real budget implications. We felt it would be better to incorporate that conversation into the larger context of our overall spending for the district. The final topic was the STEM or STEAM initiatives that are going on in the city of Lowell. Again, motions that were brought by Kim Scott and James Leary, also by Rob Gignac and James Leary. Again, nice to have you on top of this, Jim. Obviously, this is an area where here in the district we're paying a great deal of attention to. Science, technology, engineering, and math are cornerstones, obviously, for learning, and something that we're paying more and more attention to over time. I think we got some inspiring information about the fact that in our elementary schools we are beginning to see actual scientific experiments happening in the classroom with our youngest students, which I think lays a very important groundwork. Also at the middle school, we've seen some real success at the Robinson School, also looking forward to expanding that to other schools. The Butler and the Stocklosa are next on tap to kind of take part in this higher end, actual lab-based classroom hands-on learning. And then as we were looking at it, middle schools, we'll be looking forward to in our spring semester to doing projects based on electricity, rockets, and gliders, all of which sounds very exciting. The final topic that we did discuss was the crushing and wildly important debate of STEAM versus STEM. We had initially, I guess it must have been about a year and a half or so ago, we had a discussion here on the floor about incorporating the arts, into our science and technology programming. It was a motion that I had made, and that I do still believe arts can be a very strong complement to the work that we're doing around science and technology. So I don't think it's something that we want to abandon. Certainly, I think that was the feeling at the subcommittee. But I can recognize, just in kind of reading nationwide literature and understanding the movements that are taking place within this context, that STEM is a recognized acronym, and it's something that has a meaning far beyond the confines here in the city. And as we're applying for grants and as we're working regionally and statewide, that STEM, has legs far beyond the city. So I can absolutely recognize that the administration's request to focus on STEM as our leading acronym, and recognize that as we will still be including the arts in our programming, but that it will require, I think, some additional work from this committee to come up with an equally charming acronym that will allow us to put in place an arts program that will rise to the same level of importance as the STEM projects. That I would submit as a report of progress as a whole, and would welcome any insights or things that I may have missed from my colleagues in attendance.
Mr. Gignac and then Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention how excited I am about the STEM initiatives that we have going on in the district, and the work that Mr. Prime and the Office of Assistant Superintendent Claire Abrams have done so far this school year is truly amazing. Just look at last year. We didn't have nearly this much going on. And it's exciting to hear the stories about what these kids are actually so thrilled to be working on, the experiments, the activities that they're building things, and the fact that Mr. Prime has brought in quite a bit of money so far as well that has followed him. So I just wanted to thank Ms. Abrams and your staff for really doing a remarkable job in this area. And I also wanted to mention that I am excited about the Project Adventure stuff. Sorry, Jim, I spoke first. It's exciting to think that one day there will be ropes courses in the gymnasium at the high school, and that at the elementary and middle schools there will be all sorts of new types of activities that will be promoting, running around and really keeping the kids active and fit. So, Mr. Leary, I know you want to talk about this stuff, so I'll stop. Thank you.
Just want to say
Yes,
thank
Mr.
you.
Leary.
You said everything I wanted to say. So far, so good. It really looks good. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the report? Motion to accept and place on file by Ms. Rossickwood, second by Ms. Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have reports of the superintendent.
Well, excuse me, Mayor, if I could make a motion to suspend the rules. We had 2 additional subcommittee meetings that were scheduled, but just for some reason didn't make the agenda list. So if I can make a motion to suspend the rules.
I think it'd probably be best to wait until, in keeping with the open meeting law, to wait.
We did. We actually posted the subcommittees. Were actually posted correctly. We did talk to the city clerk today, and he said the way, because it doesn't make the open agenda, that we should make a motion to suspend the rules. That would be the appropriate fashion. I don't know. We can wait if you want, but the subcommittees were actually posted appropriately. For some reason, they just didn't make the agenda. I can report on them in November motion too. I mean, that's not a big deal. It's really up to you.
Either way. Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Leary.
Yep.
Seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted.
Just quickly, we had we're going to have quarterly scheduled finance subcommittee meetings, and the finance subcommittee meeting today that we held was a brief meeting, just going over our first quarter finances. Mr. Lang was in attendance, Ms. Scott was in attendance, as well as myself, the superintendent, and we also had some folks from the in the audience as well, parents and citizens. The issue, and Mr. Gignac from the school committee, sorry. The big issue we really discussed at this point is that we had some unfinished business from the last meeting where we had EdJob funds equaling $1.6 million, or more specifically, $1,603,716 that we didn't transfer from the EdJobs funds into our from our health insurance into our suspense account. So Mr. Lang made the recommendation that we make that transfer to tonight's meeting. What this is EdJobs was part of the federal stimulus that we put in because you have to use it at a certain point in time. We utilized it in our health insurance at this point, which we can do. And making this transfer doesn't affect the health insurance in an adverse way. It just puts the money in the correct account as we go forward throughout the year, as we make decisions with our negotiations and any other issues rolling into the budget year. So the recommendation, and I'll put this in the form of a motion, is to transfer $1,603,716 from the FY 2013 employee health insurance account to the FY 2013 Schools Committee suspense account. To make that a form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Any discussion on the motion?
I think we did a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Mr. Leary.
The rest of the agenda revolved around discussing our finances year-to-date for the grant approvals and expenditures. Mr. Lang presented that right now we are approximately at $22 million of grants that we were expected to receive have come in. We expect that number to increase substantially throughout the year, but being the first quarter, we really don't have a final number as to what that may be. I think the goal, obviously, is to reach the $40 million amount, which we'll have a better idea as we roll into the, after the beginning of 2013, at our next January meeting. The grants are primarily our federal Title I, Title II, Title III accounts. And I'll let the other members speak on it if there's additional dialogue. We did discuss our year-to-date revolving fund balances, and the big item that we talked about under the Finance Subcommittee meeting was that our Lowell High School bursar individual, Gail Green, is retiring at the end of this year. And what they've done at the high school with the headmaster and Mrs. Green have sat down and really looked at the bursar position in terms of what they need that would be a best fit for the high school going forward. And they made recommendations to the central administration, which you see before you tonight. The subcommittee at this point didn't make any recommendations. We had a good discussion, had some questions regarding that. So I want to do at this point is have Mr. Lang explain what the recommendations are from the central administration, and then open it up to questions from the school committee. So in essence, we didn't make, as a finance subcommittee, make any recommendations one way or the other. So to you, Mayor, to
Mr. Lang.
Thank you. The last 2 pages of the Finance Subcommittee packet deals with the bursar's job description. And basically, there's no substantive changes to the language or verbiage in the posting. Just everything's been updated since the last time it was posted with proper account names and things of that sort. The gist of the change comes on the second page with regard to the work year for the position. And this actually came as a recommendation from the existing bursar and then the high school, where the current position is 215 days a year. And they feel that there's really not a lot of activity that takes place during the summer, that it would make sense and possibly be a more attractive position if it were basically a school year plus so many day position. So the recommendation when we looked at the number of days was they feel the job can be accomplished, and I feel pretty confident it can too, going to the 180-day school schedule plus an extra 10 days. So it would be a 190-day schedule. 10 days, they'd obviously work the school year like all of the staff, and then work 10 days during the summer, maybe a day a week. Some days it might be 2. That's when basically all of the cleanup stuff happens. You have to work with the external auditors on your reports and things of that sort. But there's no real cash coming in during the summer months, and there is a lot of potential downtime for the position. So I took the per diem rate of the current position at the 215 days, brought it down to the 190 days, which basically came into about the 37.5, the low end of the range. And just we've started on these non-affiliated positions, posting them more with a range. So I'd like to have the range be 37.5 to 42.5. So it's a $5,000 window based on what applicant pool we may get, person's qualifications or credentials or things of that sort. It will remain a non-affiliated, non-union position, basically going from 215 to 190 days with that revised salary schedule. The salary, I'm sorry. Obviously, where it's a school year position, at this point, the person would be entitled to sick days, but there'd be no vacation days just because the work year would be a school year position. But that would be our recommendation at this point to move forward with the posting. Ms. Green actually retired at the end of September, but she's agreed to stay on a couple days a week to keep us afloat during this transition, and that's worked out fine for all parties. But my goal would be to have the position posted immediately, have the posting close early November, do some interviews, try to have a selection made by Thanksgiving, and have a person transition in right around the start of December.
The reason for the delay is obviously with having a recommendation from the Finance Subcommittee is really revolves around, we just received it tonight. We did have good discussion regarding the position, how it evolves from a full year position to a matching the school calendar position. So I leave it up to my colleagues in terms of if they want to take action on this tonight. I think what the school administration pressed is that they really want to have the position in place as they evolve at the beginning of the next calendar year, 2013, when Mrs. Green is officially finally retired, so they'd have someone in place that can move forward. It is a change in the actual job timeframe, so it does require some thought. The committee members on the Finance Committee, I did ask good detailed questions in terms of should we add additional responsibilities to the bursar position. I think the administration's point of view at that time was that this position would really function very effectively with a reduced schedule, therefore reduced financial value. So I leave it up to the committee. I can definitely support the changes in the position, but I do see that maybe people might want to have an additional week or two to review the position before making a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gignac?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think with the adjustments in the days in the year and the salary, I think it makes a lot of sense. And as we all know how long the period of hiring is in this district, I would like to make a motion to approve to get this process going.
Motion by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Leary. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please. Excuse me, Ms. Rossikwich.
I just have a couple of questions. I guess I'm a bit confused, not confused, but I'm perplexed. So I look at the job description, and you've got a myriad of duties, very, very different, very distinct duties, from accounting and general bookkeeping to maintaining donor databases to acting as liaisons between different departments within the school. So I guess my point is that is this an accounting or is this a financial oversight position, or is this a development position? Because that's what I'm extracting from the job description.
Mr. Lang?
If I could, no, it's definitely a financial, it's a financial analyst, financial bursar type position. The position has evolved, obviously, over the years to what the duties have been included. And oftentimes when you have an individual within a position, based on that individual's scope and interest too, the positions expand. But a lot of the work, like with, say, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation or different, when I talked about databases, that particular position has been involved with, say, the receipts that will come in for that particular event, in helping put a database together of the donors that contributed to the event. So it all touches on the financial aspects of it. I think even when it comes to, like, say, the college night and how they do the PSAT and things, any of the financial aspects that kind of roll through the high school channel through that position. So that person wouldn't be out there soliciting donations or contributions or whatnot, but when they do come in, helping to maintain the database and the record of those donations coming in, and then reporting them out properly to whoever they go to.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Rossikwich?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
At that point, Mayor, we'll just take the motion as a report of progress.
Motion is a report of progress by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Still under suspension. We have the Facilities Subcommittee meeting of Wednesday, October 17th, 2012. Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. The meeting, our attempt is to have quarterly facility subcommittee meetings as well, and this was our first one for the quarter, to go over the projects that that we had in place over the summer, what status they were in, and what projects do we have upcoming. In attendance were the entire school committee, including the mayor and the entire central administration, senior staff. The first agenda item under the new facility subcommittee, we actually have the building naming portion subcommittee rolled into our facilities. So the first portion on our agenda was the dedication for the Pine Arts Magna School to assign to retired school principal William Manalopoulos the sign and announcement board as a gift, and really have a presentation and designate that sign as the William Manalopoulos sign. We were presented information from the administration regarding the career of Mr. Manalopoulos, who started at the Bartlett School in 1973 as a teacher. Interestingly enough, a lot of folks started at the Bartlett School in the early 70s that came through our system. So a long-term employee, became a principal in the district in 1995, and ultimately in 2002 became the principal of the Pine School. The former assistant principal is nominating Mr. Manalopoulos, Maureen Ward Nault, and I think the committee at that point took a motion by Mr. Gignac, and it was seconded by Ms. Rosikowicz to approve this request to name the sign at the Pine Arts School. So I put that as a form of a motion to make that at this point.
Motion by Mr. Leary, second by Mr. Gignac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz? Ms.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
The second item on our agenda was talking about the updated green repairs. Being this was our facility subcommittee, all my notes are still up on the desk up there, so if I say it incorrectly, I apologize. But ultimately, the two major green repairs that are still pending are at the Moody and the Washington schools, where the windows have not yet been put in place. And what Mr. Lang presented to us today, thank you, that the contracts for the windows for both schools, the time frame had to be extended, which the school building authority has approved. So the contract extension's approved through the summer of 2013. Mr. Lang has assured us that the windows at both schools will be in place before the following school year. The cost, there will not be, according to Mr. Lang, he has assured us, that there will be no additional cost to the city of Lowell. So it's as unfortunate it is that we couldn't get the windows in place, be it as we have new roofs at both schools that look fantastic, we're assured that they'll be in place for the following school year. What happened at that point is we had an update on all our school projects with our senior our custodian superintendent, Brian Curley, who went over every single school and every single project that we have. I won't go into it at this point in time, but there's a member who wants to bring up a specific topic. I think, please, obviously feel free to do so. But I think the big goal here is that we had a lot of projects at the beginning of the year. Most of them are completed. There are still some that have a lifespan that continue forward. What we asked the administration to do at our next meeting under the report of superintendents, we asked them to bring up additional statuses, because we did ask questions on specific items. What time frame do we expect, for example, when the concrete out in the front entrance of Lowell High School will be completed? And that we expect to get some type of time frame. And there were other type projects that we want to bring out to the public, which I won't go into at this point. One area where we did also discuss, though, is, and I'm remiss in finding it right now, so I apologize, was an issue, and this isn't it, thanks, Mr. Lang, but it wasn't my notes. There was another issue as it pertains to the ongoing Amorisco projects. I think what they've done for the city has saved us not just a lot of money, but also have been aesthetically really helped to improve our schools. So I put that we'll put that as a motion, as a report of progress. Two issues that the facility subcommittees didn't have a chance to make final recommendations on because we didn't have enough time were the request for a part-time energy management system monitor and for an additional custodian at the Rogers School. Mr. Lang did begin to discuss the part-time energy management system monitor, his request in terms of how that would work effectively. The committee did have a lot of questions regarding this position in terms of, one, why are we adding a position at this time? What is the value of that position? We didn't get a chance to finish that discussion due to time, so there's a couple of things we can do at this point. Because they're new positions, we can have the personnel subcommittee have a quick meeting before our next November meeting to discuss them. and have more detail brought out, or that we could also discuss it at this point on the floor, make some recommendations, and take votes. So what I would do, I would ask my colleagues at this point, because we didn't have enough time to really go into depth, would they prefer this being rolled over to a personal subcommittee prior to our first meeting in November, or do they want to discuss these two positions at this point in time? So I guess I'd leave it to the committee.
What's the wish of the committee?
I think what I would do at this point is, because there were a lot of questions about the positions, I would just make a motion really that we refer to the personal subcommittee meeting with the understanding that personal subcommittee would come out at the next meeting in November and make recommendations or at least report out on these two requested positions. So I put that as a form of a motion.
Motion to refer to the Personnel Subcommittee by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Rossikwich. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted.
Thank you. And that ended our meeting. I think the focus of the facility meeting, to do it quarterly, is to really make sure our projects are updated and things are actually getting accomplished. We did have a lot of attention paid to it back in the spring in terms of the bathrooms at various schools and different structures throughout the city. I think the committee and the city council feel that this is very important, that we ensure that our facilities are of high quality. I think there was, and I think there was a motion regarding putting out regarding water bubblers. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if that was an issue, if you want to expand at this time. I think at the next meeting we can bring that out and get a better update. But I put that as a form of report of progress.
Motion to accept as report of progress by Ms. Rossikwich, seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next we have reports of the superintendent. Progress report to motion of June 15, 2011 by David Conway to ask the superintendent to explore the feasibility of creating sports-themed schools at our middle and K-8 citywide schools. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In working towards the initiative of creating sports-themed schools, which is a large request in the scope of a lot of the work we've done, there was a meeting that was held on September 21st, which brought some members of sports that have no feeder system. So at that particular meeting, Mr. Conway was present, but also Kevin Sheehan, who's the wrestling coach, and there's no feeder system for wrestling in our middle schools. Additionally, Lisa Cater, who's a field hockey coach, there's not a feeder system for field hockey, and also Jennifer Carey, who's a tennis coach. And so to begin this process of a small part of what you would want to do with a sports-themed school is to kind of create that feeder system in various sports. There was a discussion that occurred for a bit of time about what really could we do to get younger students interested in those particular areas, which is very interesting because these are the practitioners that have been doing this work for quite a period of time. So as a result of the work at that particular meeting, in the case of Coach Sheehan, he talked about having an involved program with the Police League. They're interested in some kind of wrestling weekend initiative. So Mr. Sheehan at this particular time was meeting with Jack Dolan, our resource officer coordinator, to start some kind of program, kind of feeder for wrestling. So that kind of aligned on the side. So Mr. Sheehan reported that as a starting to get an interest for younger students in wrestling. So that was one thing that was going to happen as a result of community involvement. The second part of sport we spoke of was tennis. And so Coach Carey spoke quite a bit about in years gone by, there were lots of city programs that had tennis lessons. There were all kinds of initiatives, and that those kind of feeder programs have quite evaporated over time, although the facilities, as Lowell takes care of his facilities, are there and actually have improved. So Coach Carey suggested perhaps running some vacation sessions, just some ideas on that, and we didn't get into the details, but we're planning on doing that in the future. For her to say over April vacation, maybe morning sessions where children could come, or maybe some Saturday type things where her teammates, because they were all interested in their existing team members being part of this in some way, shape, or form. So those were some of the things we talked about. There are not definite plans. I'm just providing this as a report of progress. Third one was field hockey. Coach Cater was really interested in next fall having the younger students join her high school students at the practices, because she would do kind of a mentorship and getting 7th, 8th grade students or other grades to kind of come down on some kind of a part-time basis. It wasn't ironed out, but this is just the beginning, so I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that we're kind of thinking at that level. It does not answer, and honestly, the big motion of sports-themed school, but it starts to tie in to three of our lower incidence feeder programs. So that's just for your information.
Thank you. Any discussion on this report? Motion by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next report, the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative Executive Summary. Quarter report. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, there was a change in the status of who needs to be on the local collaborative boards, and so earlier, I believe it was in August, there was a vote for me to represent the district. It could be the school committee, and so I gladly accepted the challenge. And so I am now a member of the board of the Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative. As a matter of fact, I was there this morning, and there are monthly meetings, but also involved in superintendents and school committee members from all of the participating cities that are covered under the GLEC collaborative are there. And so we're going over many different issues. And so as a result, also in improving communication around collaboratives, there is a monthly report that is provided to us from the collaborative. This first report, just in looking over it, is pretty general as far as what the overview of the collaborative is, their mission statement and vision, and then what's offered at that particular GLEC collaborative, and then the names of all of those who are on the board of directors, of which you'll see my name. So at this particular point, they're forming new subcommittees and whatnot to make sure the work of the collaborative. It is very interesting. There's most assuredly a different perspective of how the work is done, but I am serving on that, and you will see this progress report as it comes into us. I'll just include it on a quarterly basis as it comes.
Thank you. Any discussion on this report? Entertain a motion to accept as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next report, feedback on high school opiate presentation. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all know, this month has been dedicated as Opiate Awareness Month. It started off with a press release, a press conference with the mayors, and since then we've been having all kinds of activities. But I wanted to make mention of one of the best presentations I've been to in over 30 years that took place at Lowell High School last week. We did have a visitor who unfortunately has lived the life of being addicted to opiates. Jeff Allison, he presented to the Lowell High School whole student body in person, the freshman class, and it was simulcast to the entire high school. And the most interesting part is that you could not hear a pin drop in the auditorium, but I heard that in the classrooms it was extremely powerful. The feedback that we had gotten of this gentleman sharing his life and what had happened to him as a result of early addiction and what occurred in his life was amazing. As always, our children, our students were wonderful, and as always, they came up to meet him and get signatures and autographs, and it was very impactful. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of those who were responsible to bring this to fruition, because it was a planning committee that worked diligently to make sure we got this particular speaker who was really amazing. And so I'd like to thank State Representative Tom Golden, Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy, School Committee Member Robert Gignac, and the high school discipline operations specialist, Roxanne Howe, for their leadership in bringing this particular person to our district. The young people have responded in large response, actually reaching out to people with emails, letting us know. And so I just wanted to thank everybody and just make sure that the public knew about that particular initiative. I can fill you in a little bit more at the end of the month about the middle school and the elementary activities. I have spoken to the grade officers who take care of that. As a matter of fact, I spoke to them recently, how those programs are going in the middle school, and I'll give a report out at a progress report next month. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all involved and to thank Mr. Allison. Amazing story, amazing strength of a family.
Thank you. Any discussion on this report? Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, for bringing this report forward. And I had the pleasure to attend the presentation, and you're absolutely right. It was remarkable. And I've sat through many presentations as a student at Lowell High School on this very topic, and all were a little different. And the fact that we were able to bring a young person in that has struggled with addiction, and it didn't say this in the report, but Mr. Allison was a Major League Baseball pitcher, and he was drafted at 18 years old from Peabody High School. He was drafted by the Florida Marlins for quite a bit of money. And that was right when his addiction started kicking in. And once he had the money, it just got even worse. And he told the story to the students, and they were truly amazed that a young person could have lived such a troubled life when he was handed such a remarkable gift to play in professional baseball. And as the superintendent mentioned, the response has been incredible. And the students ran up to him. They asked loads of questions, very serious questions. Some of the students asked very serious questions. And the response, it really has been a highlight of my time here on the school committee. Students, staff, parents have all contacted myself and even Mr. Allison to thank him for his remarkable speech. And I just wanted to thank, again, Representative Golden, Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy, Roxanne Howe, and also school committee member Kristen Rosikwich was involved in the beginning of this process. And the fact that we were able to bring this person forward, it was a great project that we were able to come together with. And actually, Mr. Allison texted me this afternoon asking how everything was going at the high school. So he truly cares, and again, hopefully we'll get him back in years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the report? Entertain a motion to accept. Motion by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next we have home education. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The following parent guardian would like permission to home educate their child, Rita Nunez of Pawtucket Boulevard. If granted, the number of families approved by the Lowell School Committee to homeschool will be 25, and the total number of children will be 44.
Thank you. Any discussion on the report? Roll call, please. Excuse me. Motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Scott. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Rosikwich?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
Thank you. The next report is a response to the motion of September 19th, 2012 by David Conway. Asked the superintendent to prepare a monthly report that will list any overtime or extra pay expenditures given to school employees for the performance of duties within their individual job title or description. Where Mr. Conway is again unable to attend this meeting, I'd suggest we move to delay as well to the next meeting. Motion by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next we have under new business the G-Man Foundation donation. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are fortunate to receive another donation from Mr. and Philip and Paula Peters, representing G-Man Foundation, would like to donate 4 iPads and protective cases to the Pawtuckaville Memorial School for the PDD classroom. And I would recommend that you vote to accept this donation, and we will most assuredly acknowledge and thank them upon your vote.
Motion to approve by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. Gignac. Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Roz-Sikowicz,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway, Mr. Gignac,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Thank you. Next, we have convention and conference requests. I'd entertain a motion to take the two together. By Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Entertain a motion to approve. By Mr. Gignac, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Roz-Sikowicz,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Conway, Mr. Gignac,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Entertain a motion to adjourn by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, we stand adjourned.